To be academically eligible for a D1 scholarship, your student athlete must maintain at least a 2.3 GPA on a 4.0 scale. You could seriously have straight C's and still be getting your college paid for, and ACT scores tend to be thrown out the window when it comes to accepting these student athletes. These student athletes are going into school with majority, if not all, of their schooling paid for, and some are even getting money back. They're getting so much money supplied to them. But students who've worked their whole academic career for their grades are literally getting little to no money at all. My name is Brooke Crow, and I am fighting for harsher rules and regulations when it comes to the scholarships for student athletes. Personally, throughout high school, I maintained a 3.9 GPA with an ACT score of 27, and I got over a little more than $1,000 in scholarships and grants. Wow, when one of my friends had a GPA of under 3.0 with an ACT score of 20 and got a full ride for basketball and gets money back each semester because he's getting so much help in scholarships. Now, I am not knocking them, but I have always thought it was completely unfair. I was an athlete in high school as well. I had the opportunity to play college softball, but I had to turn down that opportunity because I had to work. So I don't think it's fair that just because I had to turn down an athletic scholarship that academic-wise, where I strived more, I believed in, I'm not getting any help from it. I pay out of pocket and take out loans like many other students in my same situation, but many student athletes that perform subpar in high school and are performing about the same in college are getting their full tuition, books, room, and board paid for. The sad part about many student athletes, though, is they do not succeed. Despite the NCAA's insistence that it is concerned about student athletes' academic growth, it often feels as though the student plays second fiddle to the athlete. With that being said, all the money being put into these athletes who are being thrown into the wolves literally are going to waste. You have students that perform subpar in high school with C's, a decent ACT score. They're being thrown into college where it is just straight academics. There's not anybody to help you. There's not any, there's tutoring, but you have to pay for it. You don't have that teacher that helped you get through high school to help you get through college. So these colleges are throwing in thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to these students that performed subpar in high school and expect them to do well in college, and they end up flunking out because it's not the same, and they're not only doing athletics, but they're doing schoolwork and community service and outreach programs, and they just have all these other things. So this money is literally being thrown to these students, and most of the time it's being wasted. In sad cases, it really is, not only to the student athlete, but also to the trainers that they hire for these athletes, the transportation, the extra help that they need in order to train these athletes to the people they want to be. So can you imagine the thousands and thousands of dollars that are being thrown into these people who aren't succeeding as well as the numbers predicted? The NCAA does not use your GPA listed on your transcripts, and instead it calculates your GPA using only NCAA-approved core courses. So it's taking courses from high school that they see as important, and that's the GPA being used when it comes time to get out into the school. So when you're in high school and you're planning on playing college ball in any aspect, you'll see many cases where the athletes are taking specifically the courses that it takes to get into college to play. So when you're only focusing on these courses and they're only taking the GPA from these courses, can you imagine what it's doing to these students when it comes time? And in many schools and in many cases around here, all these small towns, they want their students to succeed, and there's no knocking that, and there's no bad to that, but they're doing it to a point where they're getting them through these classes that they have to have in order to play sports, and then when they get to college, they're not doing very well because they had all this help when it came. And once again, we're losing money, and we're throwing out scholarships to people who don't necessarily deserve it when they weren't doing all their work. Now I understand how these big schools get the big name athletes is with the money and the promise of big programs, which means big money spent. For OU, for instance, you know how much money is thrown into their facilities and to make it look the best because they want the best athletes. But with this being said, why is it okay for someone with a higher GPA and ACT score to be shorted in financial help just because they cannot throw a ball or swing a bat? This is where I'm getting at. Yes, these students are student athletes, and yes, this is bringing in money to the program, but it's not fair to the ones who have worked their whole life to maintain their grades and keep up with everything. So the things that I'm suggesting is for sure harshen and bring up the required GPA during school. A 2.3 GPA is what you have to maintain to keep yourself getting paid to go to school and all your stuff paid for. Now, like I said, they have so much going on, and I am not knocking them in any way. But if you have financial aid and you have a 2.3 GPA, you're going to lose your financial aid. So why is it fair that they're not losing their scholarships? I say we should at least raise it up to about a 2.8. I think that's very manageable, that they're going to have to put in hard work because they're getting their school paid for. Also, I think there should be more help for the athletes as well. Yes, they have study halls and tutor sessions as well, but in high school, stricter regulations need to be made in order to make sure that these student athletes that are getting thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars paid into them, that it's not going to waste and they're using it correctly, and that it's not somebody in their high school helping them pass in order to play the sports. Like I've said, thousands of dollars are being spent on to send out for student athletes to yearly to send in the programs to play sports where they don't even make it through the year. Something has to be done because students that are well past qualified receive the scholarships when kids with 3.0 GPAs are not, because they can't play any sports. Thank you.